So I'm so excited to give this talk. My heart is full with love and appreciation for you. And want to say how much your practice supports my practice. And I hope also that my practice supports your practice. So excited to present this koan. Hidden Lamp Koan Case 28. Miaozong Dharma Interview. China, 12th century. Before Miaozong became a nun, she used to visit Master Dawi Songgao's monastery to study with him, and he gave her a room in the abbot's quarter. The senior monk, Wanan, did not approve. Dawi told him, although she is a woman, she has outstanding merit. Wanan still disagreed, so Dawi urged him to have an interview with her. Wanan reluctantly agreed and requested an interview. Miaozong said, "Do you want a dharma interview or do you want a worldly interview?" "An interview about the dharma," Wanan said. Miaozong said, "Then get rid of your assistant." She entered the room first, and after a while she called, "Please come in." When the senior monk Wanan entered the room, he saw Miaozong lying naked on her back on the bed. Yes, you heard right. She was lying naked on her back on the bed. Wanan, pointing to Miaozong's genitals, said, "What is this place?" Miaozong replied, "All the Buddhas of the three worlds, the six patriarchs, and all the great monks of the entire world come from this place." Wanan said, "And can I come in?" Miaozong replied, "Horses can cross, donkeys cannot." Wanan couldn't respond. Miaozong declared, "I have seen you, senior monk. The interview is over." She turned her back on him. Having studied Zen for many years with various teachers in a patriarchal tradition where we were told we had to transcend our female body, and we hardly heard anything about Zen women or women at all, with the exception of a couple of older women who appear in a few koans. You can imagine my surprise when I came across Miaozong koan, which someone sent me long before the book of the Hidden Lamp was published. Encountering Miaozong's koan aroused great curiosity in me. I asked myself, where does this koan come from? How is it possible that in such a patriarchal tradition, a woman as free as Miaozong suddenly appears? She seems to be protected by the abbot of the monastery, Master Daoi Zonggao, who allows her to stay in the abbot's quarters because he respects her clarity and her spiritual attainment. Master Daoi Zonggao was a 12th century Zen master who lived during the Song dynasty, which existed from the 10th to the 12th century in China. And this dynasty succeeded the Tang dynasty. This teacher, Daoi Zonggao, is mainly known for his emphasis on the study of koans as an effective method to experience enlightenment. Now I'm going to review with you the first part of the koan. Before Miaozong became a nun, she used to visit Master Daoi Zonggao's monastery to study with him, and he gave her a room in the abbot's quarters. The senior monk, Wanan, did not approve. Daoi told him, although she's a woman, she has outstanding merits. In this response from Daoi, the existing prejudice towards women is already noticeable because he says, even if she's a woman. Wanan still disagreed, so Daoi urged him to have an interview with Miaozong. Wanan reluctantly agreed and requested an interview. Miaozong said, do you want a dharma interview or a worldly interview? An interview about the dharma, said Wanan. It is interesting to note that the koan begins by saying, before Miaozong became a nun. Reading the koan, we see that Miaozong is a very free woman, and so why to become a nun? Since the beginning of the Judeo-Christian tradition, there were not many places where women could be free. We were married to whomever we did not want at a very young age, still children sometimes, and we were property of men, whether it was our father, husband, brother, or uncle, for whom we had to work like domestic or sexual slaves. For open-minded women with talent and spiritual aspirations, entering a monastery for nuns seems undoubtedly the best option and is the option I would have taken in those times. Master Dawi, however, appears to be a protector of women of spiritual brilliancy. In contrast, the senior monk does not understand why the master takes her in the monastery and he becomes upset. So Master Dawi encouraged Wanan to have an interview with Miaozong, and the senior monk agreed reluctantly. When the senior monk went to ask Miaozong for an interview, she immediately asked him, "Do you want a dharma interview or a worldly interview?" As you know, this is a dharma challenge. It is a dualistic question. Miaozong wants to see if the senior monk is able to resolve this duality. For Miaozong, a Zen practitioner of the middle way, there is no duality or dichotomy between a dharma talk and a worldly talk. As you know, it was traditional in ancient times that Zen teachers offer this type of dualistic challenge to new students to see how unified their minds are or were. There is a fantastic character in Zen. There are many fantastic characters in Zen, but this one is one of my favorite ones. Or he's really extraordinary. And I'm referring to the sixth Zen ancestor in China, a humble and illiterate man, but enlightened since birth. The story goes that when he was in the market selling firewood to support his elderly mother, he heard a Buddhist monk recite a few lines from the Diamond Sutra: "Dwelling nowhere, manifest the body-mind." Upon hearing this, Huineng became completely enlightened and asked the monk who his teacher was. The monk directed him to the monastery of the fifth ancestor, Demian Hongren. As it turns out, a wealthy person gave Huineng enough money to leave his mother well cared for the rest of her life, and Huineng was free to march towards the monastery. Upon arrival, the fifth ancestor was waiting for him at the gate and asked him something like, and I have changed that dialogue because I really don't want to get into an explanation of the northern or southern school, and asked him something like, "A low-born person like you, how do you intend to become enlightened?" To which Huineng replied, "In the world of men, there might be low or high birth, but in the world of emptiness, that does not exist." The master, the fifth ancestor, immediately recognized Huineng's spiritual abilities. In the same way, but in reverse, Miaozong recognized that the senior monk's mind was divided when the senior monk responded that he wanted an interview about the dharma. That was the first part of the poem, the challenge. Second part, Miaozong said, then get rid of your assistant. She entered the room first, and after a while she called. After a while, he says, after a while. Please come in. When the senior monk Wanan entered the room, he saw Miaozong lying naked on her back on the bed. Wanan, pointing to Miaozong's genitals, said, "What is this place?" Maybe he had never seen that place. Miaozong replied, "All the Buddhas of the three worlds, the six ancestors, and all the great monks of the entire world come from this place." This is a tremendous response from Miaozong, because it transcends the divisions of spiritual and mundane and points to what is most sacred in life. To fully understand Miaozong's response, it is important that we look at the golden period of Zen in China, which was also the golden age for poetry. The Tang Dynasty, from the 7th to the 10th centuries, was not only the golden age for the development of Zen, but also for the flourishing of poetry. It's evident that the admiration that the Tang Dynasty felt for women poets and practitioners of the way continues during the Song Dynasty, era in which Master Daoyi lived. As you know, Zen emerged from the marriage between Indian Buddhism and Chinese Taoism. Tao means the way. We have already talked about the importance in Zen of walking and practicing the middle way. Actually, trust in heart mind is a roadmap, is the roadmap that the third ancestor have left for humanity to walk a path that is beyond life and death. There is a path beyond life and death. That's why the middle way, it is so important. Important. The book Yin Mountain, which was recently being translated from Chinese to English by Peter Levitt and Rebecca Nier, and I have it here, so I'll show it to you. Yin Mountain. It's about the lives and poems of some very important women poets during the Tang Dynasty in China. Some of these poets were priestesses in the tradition of the Great Mother, the tradition of Prajnaparamita, priestesses of Prajnaparamita, and also practitioners of the way, the middle way, the supreme way, the highest way. The fact that priestesses of the Great Mother still existed until the 10th century in China has been a great revelation to me, because I didn't know that the tradition of the Great Mother had survived so long. In 2004, I was ordained as a Zen priestess by Shinko Roshi. And at that time, I didn't know why I had to be ordained as a Zen priestess, but deep in my heart, that's what was so important to me without knowing why conceptually. Just following the heart, we don't know conceptually. I just always follows my heart, even if I don't know where it's gonna take me or why. Don't need to know why yet. It might be really revealed later, but I don't know. At that time, just doing something wholeheartedly is what is important. Recapitulating a little, when the civilizations of the Great Mother were persecuted in ancient Europe or Old Europe, they moved to the Indus Valley, where Tantric Buddhism would later emerge. And in China, these civilizations were of great importance in the origin of Taoism. The Great Mother was fundamental in Taoism, as is shown on the following verses of the Tao Te Ching, translated by Stephen Mitchell. No, I think I messed up the order of my pages. Let me see. Maybe I lost a page. Well, anyway, it says like the Tao is called the Great Mother, unfathomable and undescribable. For lack of a better name, is called the Tao, and you can use it freely as you want. Something like that. During the times of the Great Mother religion in Old Europe, women occupied a predominant place at her temples as her priestesses. This is the mother of emptiness. Priestesses could have lovers and make love in the temples. People believed that by making love with a priestess was a way to connect with the divine feminine and her universal wisdom. By making love with the priestesses, people felt connected and empowered with this wisdom. We have to imagine this in a sacred environment of veneration of the Great Mother of Emptiness and her priestesses. Perhaps this is difficult to imagine today. The mind of the priestesses was innocent, a mind still undivided. From prehistoric times to the 10th century in China, we can verify the existence of priestesses of the Great Mother who practice the Tao or the Middle Way. To highlight how primary emptiness is in Taoism, it is known as the Mother of the Universe or Mother of all things. Tang Dynasty, Tang society, highly value the power of the femininity. The female poets made it clear that the mysterious and undescribable Tao is found in the sensuality of women. Because in fact, Taoism considered that passion and the sensuality of women were an embodiment of the Tao. Taoism considered that passion and the sensuality of a woman was an embodiment of the Tao. Hence, Taoist priestesses and poets enjoy greater respect and social freedom than other women. Tang priestesses gave public sermons, performed rituals, traveled freely, and were spiritual mentors to emperors. But they still had to struggle with a society and culture that was still heavily controlled by men. Today, I want to talk about two of these women, the poets, priestesses, and practitioners of the way, Li Ye and Yu Xuanji, who reveal in their poems the depth of their spiritual practice, their connection with nature, and the truth of what they feel, despite the obstacles that the patriarchal culture put on them. The first of them, her name is Li Ye. Li Ye was very beautiful and talented. She was famous for her calligraphy, poetry, and her music. Her fame reached the ears of the emperor, and he required her presence at court to teach poetry to royalty. There was a rebellion, and Li Ye fell captive to the new regime, and she was forced by the rebels to write poems in favor of the rebel, justifying the rebellion. Against her will, she was taken captive. We can hear her desperation in the following poem titled accidental abiding. She writes, my mind is a distant drifting cloud. I know it won't return. It lives with clouds in the space between existence and the void. Why do gusting winds scatter it about, blowing back and forth from the southern to the northern mountains? In this poem, she expresses she's no longer free, she's captive, she's afraid for her life, she has no freedom to write what she would have liked to write, to live the life that she would have liked to live as a priestess. Then the rebellion was subjugated the following year, and the old regime, I think it's regime, sorry, now in power, used Liye's poems as proof that she had aided the rebellion and she was executed. Centuries later, Chinese literary circles fell under the control of Orthodox Confucianism. The innocent spiritual lines of Liye's poetry were twisted and used as evidence of her libertine and seductive nature, and put her as the opposite ideal of what a woman should be like in a society in which the moral system was governed by men. Confucian Orthodox men. This is another of her poems. It's called Departing on a Moonlight. The heavenly place mentioned in this poem was considered the abode of the great Western Mother, who lived here with her retinue of goddesses. She writes, as we depart, there is nothing to say beneath the silent moon, whose light reflects the way we really feel. From here on, we will long for each other, like the moon floating between clouds, beyond the water, until it reaches the celestial palace. It's interesting that in this poem she mentions the celestial palace, and this was the abode of the great Western Mother. This is quoting from Peter Levitt, that this is, a confirmation of what I was saying, that the Great Mother um, that had such a great influence in the birth of Taoism is an evolution of the old European mother, the one that helped us to survive when we didn't know anything, when survival was so difficult for humans in prehistoric times. But even in prehistoric times, because we were connected with the great mother of emptiness, we were able to survive. And actually, the moon is considered a manifestation of that great mother. I was reading today, just by mistake in the news, that the moon is growing away from the earth. Is this a symbolic that the great mother is drifting away? I hope not. I hope we can bring her back, because in order to survive what's coming to this planet, we need her back. And even there is actually a poem in the in the Blue Cliff record. I took it from my book, Jason Priestess and the Snake. So if you don't have my book, you can get it. It's a great book. It says, south of Sho and north of Tan, yellow gold within fills the whole country. A fairy boat under the shadowless tree. Up in the crystal palace, there is no one who knows. South of Sho and north of Tan, that means everywhere. Yellow gold within fills the whole country. Our true nature is everywhere. A fairy boat under the shadowless tree means to the Mahayana, our school of Mahayana, and up in the crystal palace, that's pointing again to the abode of the Great Mother. There is no one who knows, because this is the realm of pure experience, like I was explaining to you during my previous talk. So the Great Mother and Prajnaparamita are also essential in the school of the Mahayana, although it's all hidden now. Lige's poem is very beautiful, and it connects us with such an exquisite and sublime sensuality, perhaps a little lost, or maybe a big lost in our times. The next poet, female poet and priestess of the Great Mother, practitioner of the way, is called Yu Xuanji. She was executed at the age of 25. During her short life, she inspired generations with her life, talent, and poetry. At age 17, she was ordained as a priestess of the Great Mother and enjoyed the freedom that this rank provided. While her poetic talent and impressive appearance led her quickly to become a sensation in the literary circles of the aristocracy, she was unjustly accused of killing a servant, and she was executed, as I said before, at age 25. After her death, Orthodox Confucian scholars also distorted the interpretation of her poems so that they would appear pornographic. In the following poem titled Response to an Acquaintance's Invitation to Go Fishing on a Summer Day, Yu Swanyi, I just call her Yu to make it shorter. Yu rejected a neighbor's invitation to go fishing. The fragrant branches of osmanthus allude to achievement and fertility. You will see that later in the poem, in her poem. The neighbor gave Yu some of Mantu's branches to show his other intentions. Yu alludes here in the poem to Taoist and Zen wisdom to express her rejection and to make it clear that she can see through his real intentions. It goes like this. Though we live in the same lane, year after year our path don't cross. Casual conversation may soften an older woman, while fragrant osmanthus bends the fresh boughs. But the Tao's essence dupes both ice and snow, and Zen mind just laugh at finery and silk. Although traces of you have climbed clear to the Milky Way, there is still no pathway to me through the mist and waves. Though we live in the same lane, that means that fact that they lived in the same road, that they were neighbors. And although they are neighbors, she's telling him, we have our path don't cross. There is no way. Casual conversation might soften older women or older women, while fragrant osmanthus bends the fresh boughs. That refers to younger women, although she was very young herself. But the Tao's essence dupes both ice and snow. The Tao's essence dupes both ice and snow. The cold heart dupes the cold heart, the cold, passionless heart, the cold, expressionless heart. And Zen mind just laugh at finery and silk. This reminds me of Master Ikkyu when he was invited to a great feast at the emperor's palace, and he came with his beggar's robes, and he was not allowed at the celebration in the palace. So he went home, got his best Zen ornamental robes, put them on top of his beggar clothing, went to the palace. He was received with all the honors, went to the table, took the robes off, put them on the back of the chair, and left. And he said, you invited the robes, not me. Although traces of you have climbed clear to the Milky Way, although you might be the most powerful, most famous, most renowned person in the world, a Nobel Prize, maybe these days, the heart of a priestess cannot be bought, cannot be deceived, cannot be deceived by power. Is the true heart. The true heart. I mean, what treasure compares with our own true heart, with our own true nature, with the connection with our own true nature? There is still no path through the mist and waves. It's so beautiful how they use the element, all the elements, but in this particularly, she's protected by the element of water that becomes mist and waves. Through mist and waves, he cannot find her. There is no path to her. A Letter to Embody Feelings is the name of the next poem. In this poem, you often interweave images and longings from the spiritual and sensual world. You wait in the poem for her closest friend. Clouds and rain mean sexual intimacy. Peach and plum blossoms are images that refer to women, life, and sexuality, while the pine, devilwood, and bamboo symbolize the Confucian moral ideals of reputed lords. Yu expresses her womanly longing for a soulmate to share her sexuality, her sexual intimacy with. And Yu makes it clear that the mind of her fragrant orchid, a symbol of inner purity, never diminishes or alters when having sexual intimacy. It doesn't alter a bit the purity of her innocent orchid, mind, heart. She says, I give voice to my anguish with vermilion strings. The depth of my feelings just can't be held back. Looking forward to the intimacy of clouds and rain does not arouse my fragrance orchid's mind. Peach and plum blossoms are radiant. Nothing can block the pursuit of my excellent lord. Indigo pines and devilwood still long to be admired by the crowd. My moss-covered stairs are pure in the moonlight. The poet's voice rises from bamboo grasses deep in my yard. In front of my gate, red leaves spread on the ground. I will leave them untouched, waiting for my innermost friend. I give voice to my anguish with vermilion strings. She was probably singing with an instrument that had vermilion strings. The depth of my feelings just can't be held back. I have experienced that, not looking for sexual intimacy, but sometimes, my feelings are so strong. They cannot be held back. If I was to hold them back, it would be very harmful to my physical body. Looking forward to the intimacy of clouds and rain, looking forward to sexual intimacy, does not alter the purity of my innocent, pure, fragrant orchid mind. Peach and plum blossoms are radiant. This points to women fertile years where we have this really powerful, potent body that is ready to give birth, ready to procreate. That's something. That's something powerful. Nothing can block the pursuit of my excellent Lord. She's looking for her soulmate. Nothing can block the pursuit of my soulmate that she seemed to have found. Indigo pines and devilwood still long to be admired by the crowd. Indigo pines and devilwood points out to the ideal of the Orthodox Confucianism that is in the rise, and they actually exterminate the last of the priestesses of the Great Mother Prasnaparamita. My moss-covered stairs are pure in the moonlight. I was saying the moonlight is also a symbol of the Great Mother from ancient times. And in this poem, she becomes a tree. She is a tree covered with the steps of moss, and her voice rises from deep from the ground, deep from the earth. And that same tree spread red leaves on the ground that she will leave untouched, waiting for her innermost friend. So um, just a sensibility, um, an expression of the Tao that is so sublime that really I wish we could recover that kind of sensibility, men and women. Because when I talk about women, and when I bring the Great Mother or women in Zen, I'm not doing it as a sexist gender thing. We are both masculine and feminine. We are both masculine and feminine. We both have those energies in us. So when the feminine aspect is being buried, men suffer. Men suffer, of course, men suffer. So when I'm recovering these things, I'm not doing it just for women. It's just for both men and women. I'm actually also recovering my own feminine nature because I grew up on a patriarchal society. I'm trained in Zen. I was a samurai Zen woman, and a lot of changes have been gone through me since that time. A lot of metamorphoses have been gone through me through, since those times of my life as a samurai Zen woman. And the beautiful thing of the Great Mother and Prasna is that she embodies all genders, all races. There is nothing that she doesn't embody. And as I told you yesterday, in the Prajnaparamita Sutra, it's very important the nature, the feminine nature of this mother, although she embodies the masculine and the feminine, all genders, all races, everything in unity and equality. So I'm not really a feminist, I'm an archaeologist. I study archaeology in Spain, and those were really hard times in Spain, and times of at the end of the life of the dictator Francisco Franco. And when I studied archaeology, it was just a great idea to study archaeology and unearth the lost history. Or actually, when I went to the first excavation and they gave me a pick and a shovel to use under the scorching sun, I realized that that was not for me. But archaeology of emptiness, archaeology of the collective unconscious, that I love. That I love so much. So, in the light of what I said before, the poets make it clear that the mysterious and undescribable Tao is found in the sensuality of women, because Taoism itself considered that passion and the sensual physical nature of a woman was an embodiment of the Tao. So then, in the light of this, how do you understand Miaozong's Dharma talk? No, I'm just jumping pages here. When Anyway, I'm gonna go to the last page. I didn't go through the third part of the poem. I just get too excited. This is just so wonderful. I just discovered this maybe a few months ago, that these priestesses, that my lineage, this is my lineage. I recovered my lineage, lasted that long. And did I tell you before that when I got my priestess ordination with Shinko Roshi, that I saw all these spirit women in red. They were all red spirit women. And I knew it was the suffering that the lineage of spiritual women that I belonged to had gone through to preserve their their true their true love for their path. So that's my lineage, and I feel like today all those red spirit women are here supporting my back, They are all supporting my back. So in that way, it's an unbroken lineage, although it has been underground for so long. So the third part, Wanan said, and can I come in? Miaozong replied, horses can cross, donkeys not. Wanan couldn't respond. Miaozong declared, I have seen you, senior monk. The interview is over. She turned her back on him. Wanan left embarrassed. Later, Dawi told him, the old dragon has a certain wisdom, don't you think? And you can see, I mean, you that know so much about Zen, that this answer from Miaozong, horses can cross, donkeys cannot, come from Master Yoshu. So she knew Master Yoshu. She knew the teachings of Master Yoshu. Only that Master Yoshu said, um, horses can cross, donkeys can cross. But for a woman, no. Horses can cross, donkeys cannot. You know, out of the omniscient mind, there are five wisdoms. There are the five Buddha wisdoms. And this wisdom adjusts naturally to whatever is happening in the moment. So that's why she says horses can cross, donkeys cannot. So I would have made prostrations to Miaozong if I would have been there. I don't know what would you have done, but I would have prostrated to her. And now it's the sixth day of the retreat. You have done great work. I've seen you. I see you working hard. I see your mind settle down. We are all connected. We're all connected. The Abbey, the whole place is my whole body. So your practice is wonderful. Don't let it go down now. Many of you have had glimpses or kenshos into the omniscient mind, and you know how wonderfully beyond words it is. Everything becomes crystal clear. The ego mind has now an opening and is not so close unto itself anymore. Instead, is fed in whatever degree we have realized by the omniscient mind. There is a Tibetan saying, see everybody as your mother. I heard it from somebody and I didn't understand it. I just have a physical mother, a birth mother, and just the idea of seeing everybody as my physical mother, it didn't make any sense to me, or was not something that I wanted to practice. But now reading the Prajnaparamita Sutra, the mother of all the Buddha Sutra, how Lex Hixon calls it, It's not about that at all. It's about actually seeing everyone as our great mother Mahaprajna Paramita. And practicing this, I went to the supermarket. There I saw Prajna Paramita in the supermarket as an old woman in crutches, as an obese man pushing his cart, as a beggar with his dog. Right there, I experienced the perfect functioning of wisdom. Even though I saw every being in the supermarket as Mahaprajna Paramita, I did not start to make prostrations to everyone. The omniscient mind was working with the ego mind, which is now connected to the higher wisdom. I could see my place in the relative and also the deeper nature of all beings in the absolute. Nothing to think about, just the direct experience of perfect wisdom. And this perfect wisdom, in conjunction with our relative existence, became compassionate wisdom. We have many statues of Prajnaparamita being carried by the Naga dragon, water dragons over the Zen Center. There is one at the very entrance of the Zen Center that was a gift from Shinsen. There is one right between the bathrooms at the Zen Center. Look at her, Mahaprajna Paramita, being carried by the dragon Nagas. And there is one in the altar. And it struck to me that the one in the altar is carried by a fish. But this is because Nagas can take many forms. Nagarjuna was approached by a Naga in human form. And right here at the Abbey, I have a Naga in a horse form. Like I said, she found this place for us. So now I want to finish with my metta practice. May all beings experience peace. May all beings experience love in their hearts. May all beings have good shelter, food, water, air, and space. May the four-legged in animal concentration camps experience healing. May the two-winged in cages experience freedom. May the animals all over the world that are dying from lack of food and care experience, I didn't have this one, experience the love of Prajna Paramita. May the fish in the oceans and rivers are safe, and for the sake of all beings, may we all be realized.